Alright, so this video is going to walk you through the drill block. So we're going to model this, and we're not going to do it in a way that we've done in the past. So in the past, when we made holes and things, we would actually do a sketch on a circle and then we'd extrude it. But we're going to do something a little different today. It's going to make it a little bit more complex, but you can do more. So we're going to be using the hole feature. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this tab out, and this is a neat little shortcut. You guys can use this if you're on the video, because you're watching this probably from the YouTube video. So if you drag this into a different tab, you can use Alt-Tab to quickly go back and forth. And that's just like a useful little way to go back and forth. All right, so we're in OnShape, and what we're going to do is create a brand new document. So we're all done with our intermediate modeling. So this is going to be our first name and last name, advanced modeling. So we're going to do some advanced modeling. Ooh, scary. So here's our document, and we're going to take our Part Studio here. Actually, no, let's get rid of this assembly. We don't need an assembly. But we're going to rename this. This is going to be our drill block. This is kind of tough to flip back and forth. All right, so if we look here, this is just going to be a little piece of wood that we have that has 4 holes drilled in it. One of them is just a straight through hole. One of them has a counter bore here. One of them has a counter sink. And this last one is drilled, or tapped. Sorry, it's tapped so it actually will have threads. So, and we can look at these numbers here. So this is 0.25 inch diameter. So that little phi means diameter. It goes all the way through. Then we have our counter bore, counter sink, and our tapped hole. All right, so let's look at our size. So our little block here is 1.5 high, 0.75 wide, and then it has 0.1 inch fillets on all edges. So let's come back here. Now to make this, the second part of this a little bit easier, we're going to be starting by sketching on the right plane. That's just going to make it a lot easier. So let's get sketch, and we're going to make sure that we have our right plane as our sketch plane. And if I click on my right side of my view cube, and I can tell that everything's good there. Okay, so we're going to sketch on that right plane. And if I grab my center point rectangle, and let me just double check my dimensions, 1.5 and 0.75 wide. So we'll start there. This is 0.75 and 1.5. Oops, that's not 0.75, that's 1.5. So we'll change that. Bloop. And then we have 0.1 inch fillets. So in the past, we would extrude this and do fillets after we make it 3D. I'm going to change it up a little bit. Yeah?
What was the name of that thread custom feature?
Thread creator. You want me to come over real quick?
Thread, no space.
Alright, so instead of doing our fillets in 3D, we're going to do them right here in the sketch. And the way we do that is, this is your sketch fillet. So this is just a different way to do it. There are normally a bunch of different ways to do stuff. So we're going to get that and just click on the 2 adjacent edges. I'll type in 0.1 there, do these 2, and we'll make that 0.1. And you'll change the value. So we go ahead and click, then when their white box pops up, that's when we can change the value. And then 0.1, and we're good to go. So if you're having trouble with the fillet in sketch, feel free to go ahead and just make it a regular rectangle and fill it after. Okay, just make sure your fillets are 0.1 inch. All right, so let's go back and see how far we're going to extrude this. So length is 5 inches. So we'll extrude 5 inches. There we go. And this is kind of a nasty blue color. This is going to actually be made out of wood. So I'm going to edit appearance. Let's get kind of a woodish color. I want a little bit lighter. So let's just go over here to our mixer. Yeah, that's a nice wood texture right there. Perfect. So got our 5-inch block. So now it's time to start actually adding the holes. And we can see from our views, the front shows this front face. Right side is here, and that's our top. Okay, so if you got your views messed up, I would highly recommend you go back and redo Otherwise, it's going to make the next part a lot harder, or the part 2 of this assignment. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get set up to create the holes. And we're not going to do a circle and extrude like we've done in the past, but we're going to use points, which is a different way, and you can do a lot more. So we're going to start by sketching. We're going to do another sketch, and we're going to sketch on the top face of the part. So we're not sketching on a plane, we're sketching on the top face here. And I'm going to grab my line, and we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to get a construction line. So a construction line is a special kind of line. It still works exactly the same way, it just looks a little different. Okay? It's just used normally for edges and things for spacing things out. So when we're creating something where we're just like spacing things and it's not actually going to be extruded or turned into a shape, we can use construction lines. It just makes it easier to understand. So, and if we look at this, oops, let's go back. So we have 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. So we're going to have 4 points, each one spaced at 1 inch. So I'll come over 1 inch, come over another inch, there's 2, over another inch, there's 3, over 1 more inch, there's 4. So now we're going to make the points. So we have all of our 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where these points are going to go. So let's go ahead and get our point. Make sure that construction is turned off. And each one of these dots here, these intersections, I'm just going to click. You can see the little white point. So that's adding a point that we can use for a hole. So we got our 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 points. We're good to go. We'll go ahead and hit green check. So there's our 4 points. All right, so now we're ready to get the holes in there. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use this hole feature, which is more complex, but like I said, lets you do a whole lot more. So let's go and click on hole, and we'll do the first one. So we click on hole, and we'll click on our first point. That's where it's going to go. And if we look at our hole, this is 0.25 inches through. So it's a simple hole, nothing fancy, no countersink, no counterbore. So this is a drilled hole, 0.25 inches, and it's going to go through all. So just make sure instead of blind, we say through all. It's 0.25 inches. We don't have to worry about too much of this other stuff, but there's our values right there. So you can see it goes all the way through. Green check. So let's hit hole again and do our second one. Now if we look, our points disappeared. That's because we used that sketch for our first hole, so it hid it. So what we'll have to do is come down to the sketch where we have our points, unhide it, and now we can see it again. So it automatically hides it when you do something, so we just need to unhide it. So let's click on that second one, and we're going to get our second hole. So if we look back here, this one's a little different. So this is a counter bore. Okay, we can tell that by that little shape right there. Goes down with a counter bore. It's 0.25 inches wide and goes down 0.25 inches. And the entire depth is 1 inch, and the diameter of the drill is 0.25. So let's come back here. We're going to switch this to counter bore, and that's going to change what it looks like. So we can see that there's room there for the head of a screw. Okay, so this is still going to be drilled. We're still drilling 1/4 inch, and that's 25. That's just repeating that. Okay, our counter bore is going to be 0.5 inches. Okay, and our counter bore is going to go down 0.25. And this is not going to go through all. It is going to go down blind, and I think 1 inch. Blind 1 inch. Good, so our numbers all check out. So there's you want to pause it right there and get your numbers. So we're good to go. So that second one is done. The third one is similar. So let's get hole again. It's going to be right here. And if we go back to the instructions, we can see that it's not a counter bore, it is in fact a countersink. So all the numbers are pretty similar, 0.25 and 1, 0.5, except here instead of a diameter we have a degree. That's the angle of our countersink. It's probably going to be the default. So let's go to countersink and see what we get. So we're still at 1/4 inch. It's blind down 1 inch, 82 degrees, and we're just going to change this to 0.5, and there we go. So 82, perfect. All right, so it didn't have to change all that much there, so good to go. And then our fourth hole is going to be right here, our last one. And this one is not going to be a countersink or counterbore. It's going to be simple, but it is going to be a tapped hole. So it's actually going to have thread, so you can put a bolt or something in there. Oh, you're good, no worries. So this is going to be, instead of drilled, this is tapped. It's going to be straight tap, 1/4 inch. We're going to use 20 TPI, that's the threads per inch. Okay, and yeah, we don't really have to change anything except this is going to go down 1 inch, and our tap goes down 0.5, which, oops, looks like our depth is 1. And okay, it only goes down 0.75 inches instead of 1, so we'll change that to 0.75. 0.75 to 5, okay, perfect. So good to go. Alright, so there's our 4 holes. We're pretty much done, but just 2 more things we're going to do. So the first is called a section view. So we can't really see our holes here. So if we right click and go to section view, I can use this arrow to adjust it so I can actually see the hole. So we're going to leave it there just so you can kind of see it. And you can see that this gives you a really good idea of what's inside. So section views are great if you want to see what's inside something. We can also see that we don't have any threads on here, right? It doesn't actually look like a threaded hole. Okay, so if we look at our assignment here, or at our PowerPoint, a threaded hole actually has these little lines, and that's where the bolt screws in. And the reason that they're not actually modeled here is because if we were actually creating this, you would drill it, and then you'd send it off to a machinist, and they would tap it. Okay, but if we wanted to 3D print this, and we wanted those threads, we have to do something special. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to add a custom feature, and that'll be the last thing we do. So to add threads, we have to use something called a custom feature, and I have a bunch of them here. Okay, the one that we're going to use is Thread Creator. Yours isn't there yet, so we have to add it. So let's go ahead and click on Add Custom Features, Community Spotlight, and I want you to type in thread. And when we do that, you'll get Thread Creator. You just click on that, click down here, that'll add it. You know you did it right when it pops up, just like right there, Thread Creator. So once you got that added, we're just going to hit Thread Creator. We're going to click right here. And normally defaults to 0.125, that's way too big. We can see that our threads is 20 TPI. That's the 20 right there, that's 20 threads per inch. So if we do the math, that is 0.05. And we can see that shrinks it down. And this is not fully threaded. This is going to go by distance. And how far down do the threads go? They go down 0.5 inches. So we'll make this 0.5. And there we go. Alright, so that's our finished assignment. There's our drill block with our fully modeled threads. So if we were to 3D print this, you would actually get those threads. So if you're ever doing like a screw or a bolt or things like that, that's super useful to do. So that is the drill block assignment. Thanks for watching.